Hey everyone, my name is Sean and welcome to another week of live duels recorded at AGO in Luton. If you guys are looking for a really friendly, competitive and casual local to go to, come and check us out in Luton. We are halfway from King's Cross if you're in London. We are very near and close to Milton Keynes. And also, of course, if you're in Luton, you can come on by and check us out. We have a great locals there, and I am the tournament organizer for it, so I can definitely vouch for the quality of the locals there. Really great mix of players there. And today, on the left, you're going to see me actually being in one of my own videos, which is fantastic for once. I'm going to be playing Mythical Beast Endmyions this time at locals, and I'm going to be going against none other than Leone, who is piloting Salamangreats and has done so for the majority of the year. Leone is a member of Team Heritage, a fantastic group of players, really humble set of guys, and they are quite new team. So if you guys can support them by subscribing to their YouTube channel or checking them out, links are in the description and in the video, so please feel free to go support them. They are a group of competitive players and they go around all around Europe, Ghent, Utrecht, they went to Milan recently, and having the presence of guys like Leone at our locals has really pushed the quality of play at our locals, and it has encouraged a lot of people to try and do the best they can and get better at the game, including myself. So I can't say nothing but praises about the guys from Team Heritage. They are a really great bunch here. Now this is going to be a long game, but there's a lot we can talk about in terms of strategy, in terms of this matchup here. So I'm going to get on to talking about what I am doing basically as a Mythical Beast Endmyion player. Now, well, apologies for the glare of the central extra deck card that is Mythical Beastmaster Cerberus, and I'll explain what that card does when it is relevant. But right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the effect of Mythical Beast Jackal, a level 1 spellcaster monster, which lets me summon a Mythical Beast monster by removing 3 counters and tributing this card from my deck to the field. Now, a Pendulum deck typically has a very similar game plan. It is always about trying to bring out big monsters to the field that have forms of interruptions to disrupt their opponent from doing plays. Whether it's Guard Dragon Pendulums, Magician Pendulums, they all trying to do the same thing, but what's special about Endymyion Pendulums is that they are a bit more of a grindy version of the deck, and they aren't so much about putting a huge amazing board and then winning in one turn. They're more about kind of winning over time by careful and management of resources. I was studying this deck a lot in September. The best success I've had at regional level was to get in 13th place, but I wasn't doing Mythical Beast Endmyion. I was playing Guard Dragon Magicians back then, and then I stopped playing the deck for a while, and I've only just picked up recently. It's a really fun deck to play. There's a lot of depth to it, but it is not one of the easiest decks to play, I will admit. Sometimes you just brick. For example, right now I'm going to end on the board of 2 Mythical Beast Jackal Kings. Jackal King has the effect where he can remove 2 spell counters from the field, and he can negate any monster effect. The activation of a monster effect, which is really good, but right now that's really only 2 interruptions, and this isn't really the best board that a Pendulum player really wants to make. Now Leone on his first turn here is going to normal summon Flame Buffalo, and he's going to make the standard play of using Buffalo as link material to summon out Salamangreat Baylinks. Now normally a Salamangreat player will say chain link 1 Buffalo, chain link 2 Baylinks, to kind of do a chain lock to stop you from negating Buffalo and making sure it goes through. Leone says at this point though he's not going to use Baylink's effect, which tells me that Baylink's effect he cannot resolve, otherwise he would have, which means that he has the field spell card already in his hand. So I choose this time to actually negate the Buffalo because I don't want him discarding cards from his graveyard and drawing more resources from his. What Salamangreats like to do, they like to put cards in the graveyard and recycle their resources to gain amazing amounts of advantage. It's a really solid deck, and in my opinion it's the second best deck in the game right now. Now, I got very lucky because by stopping that Buffalo, Leone wasn't really able to advance his state much further than that. He activates the field spell, which gives my monsters more spell counters, and he reincarnates the Baylinks into a Baylinks, which is a mechanic unique to the Salamangreat archetype, where they can use a card of the same name to link summon another card of the same name, and it sets one card face down, which suggests to me it's going to be a copy of Salamangreat Rage or Salamangreat Roar. And in a second you're going to see that it is Salamangreat Rage. Rage is a card which has 2 effects. You can either discard or send one Salamangreat monster from your hand or deck to the field, hand or field to the graveyard, and then destroy one card in the field. Or you could just choose one reincarnated Salamangreat card on your field and destroy cards on your opponent's field equal to its link rating. He goes for the first effect because he wants to ditch the Falco, because he wants resources in his graveyard, and then he chooses to activate the Falco's effect to get back that rage and set it back down so he can reuse it again in his turn. I choose to negate that one and allow my other Jackal King to be destroyed. Now, fortunately, I have Mythical Institution on the field, a continuous spell or trap card. Mythical Institution anytime has the effect that anytime a Mythical Beast card is destroyed, it gets 2 spell counters. This is going to allow me to now use its second effect, which by removing a number of spell counters equal to the level of a monster, I can add a pendulum monster with which can hold spell counters from my deck equal to the level of the number of spell counters I removed. So I removed 3 and I was able to search out Servant of Endymion, one of the better starters for a pendulum deck right now. And by doing that, I would say my board is somewhat quote-unquote live. Servant is a fantastic card, and we've recently started to get super rare versions of Servant thanks to OTS 12. I've just got my 3rd one. I'm very happy with that. Always like to rarity bump my cards, but I'm not much of a rarity whore. And now I'm going to go for a pendulum summon, and I'm going to be able to summon out Jackal King from my hand, from my extra deck, sorry, because it was destroyed earlier, and summon out my Endymion Mighty Master of Magic from my hand to the field. Endymion Mighty Master of Magic allows me to negate spells and trap cards by returning a card with spell counters on the field to my hand, whereas the Jackal Kings can also negate monster effects. So I now have 3 forms of interruptions, which is actually really good here. I'm in a lot better position than I was on my first turn, and feeling a lot more comfortable. I have made a small misplay here. The card on the right pendulum scale, Kaiden Kendo Spirit, has the effect that whenever I pendulum summon it must be returned to the hand as a spirit card. You can see me correcting that there. It is a really good card for generating more spell counters. Ideally, if I had remembered, what I would have done is I would have activated it again and given my cards more spell counters. But I've corrected the game state, and I've just allowed it to go through, so there's nothing I can really do. And Leone now is going to activate Will of the Salamangreat, which is going to allow him to special summon a Salamangreat card from his graveyard to the field. Now, I let this go through because I think I was distracted by the fact that I messed up on the Kaiden Kendo play, but I could have negated it with Endymion. However, by doing so, I would have had one less form of interruption that would have been live. So right now what we're both doing is we're really just kind of feeling each other out, trying to get one of the other players to make a mistake, and assuming well, whoever basically makes the first mistake falls for the right form of bait, the other player will be able to capitalize and win from these game scenarios. Leone normal summons that Jaguar, which triggers Sunlight Wolf effect, allowing him to add a fire monster from his graveyard. And right now I don't think there's anything in his graveyard I'm really too afraid of him getting back to his hand, because I think well, he chooses to go for Flame Buffalo, but he's already used his normal summon this turn, so that Flame Buffalo isn't really going to hurt me much. As of yet, I can kind of ignore it for the time being. It's not an immediate threat, it's more of a delayed threat, whereas sometimes they return cards like Ash Blossom or Spinny to recycle their effects, or even like a Gazelle would be terrible right now. Yeah, but Flame Buffalo is not going to really worry me too much. So Leone reincarnates summons into a Sunlight Wolf, which will allow him to use the Sunlight Wolf's effect to get back a Salamangreat spell trap card from his graveyard. I do have the ability to negate this. Now what's difficult at this point in time is because Leone has a Banix in his grave, if I choose to negate one of his monster effects, I will not destroy the monster because he can protect it with Banix. And that's the reason why I chose not to negate this one, even though I really don't want him getting that spell track card back. Fortunately, Leone is now going to use Jaguar's effect to recur Jaguar by shuffling back the last Banix in his graveyard, so now his monsters will be destroyed if I negate their effects. He summons a Jaguar under Sunlight Wolf, he sets one spell trap card, and if he chooses to go for another link, some kind of other monster effect, I'm ready to negate that, but he chooses to end his turn and then passes for turn. So I'm in a game-winning state here, I would say. Endymion can negate the spell trap card quite easily. The Jack of Kings, I have the skills in order to pendulum summon again if I want to. Sunlight Wolf was also giving me a zone if I was able to move out Endymion for some reason. I use a Spellbook of Secrets in order to add a Spellbook Magician of Prophecy, which is going to give me a ton of spell counters here. I'm about to normal summon it. Leone is going to have a look at his track card, decide whether he wants to use it or not. And basically at this point, I'm in a very, very favorable situation. I'm going to search out Spellbook of Knowledge, and Leone decides to scoop it up because he can see that the end is in sight and he really hasn't got enough interruptions to survive this turn. So game 1 goes to myself. Very, very fortunate after that kind of ricky first turn there. But this is kind of that was kind of lucky there, I would definitely say. So we're off into game 2 now. Game 2, Salamangreat versus Endymion Pendulums, and Leone has decided to go first, whereas I'll be going second. Now, Pendulums are notoriously known for being quite bad going second. They're not impossible, you can definitely play through them. However, it is a lot harder than when you're going first because your opponent has a board full of interruptions, and especially if they know what you're playing, it's even harder to kind of surprise them or kind of just pounce on them with big monsters that they can't suddenly have not prepared themselves to get through. So Leone starts with a copy of Salamangreat Foxy. He looks at the top 3 cards of his deck and then finds Salamangreat Circle, which is a rotor for the deck, and lets him add Salamangreat Gazelle, the best Salamangreat monster in the deck, to his hand. He discards Spinny and uses both Spinny and Foxy to summon out Mirage Salio, and then he's going to use Mirage Salio's effect to detach 1 card and special summon a Salamangreat card from his deck to his field, and that will be Jack Jaguar. Leone is very, very good at playing through interruptions and knowing what people are looking for in order to counter his build here, and I'm going to point out something very clever that he does a little bit later on. Leone now goes off to make Sunlight Wolf, using both of his resources, and he's got a graveyard full of monsters that can bring themselves back later on, so he's got a really, really good setup here. So he now puts Sunlight Wolf on the field, and he's having a look at his grave, and he chooses to shuffle back into Mirage Salio so it can be used again in the future by special summoning Jack Jaguar, and then Sunlight Wolf's effect is going to kick in and let him add a fire monster from his graveyard. He chooses the copy of Foxy because between Spinny and Foxy, Spinny is the one that's better off him being in the graveyard, even though they're both just as good. Leone then chooses to make Balix and then uses both Sunlight Wolf and Balix to bring out another Sunlight Wolf. That's going to let him get a spell and trap card from his graveyard, and then he gets out Salamangreat Circle. Really, really solid play here. The amount of resources in his hand right now are insane, and he's going to get even more resources because he's going to play Pot of Desires. I think Leone has maybe 8 cards in hand right now, and this is just kind of the insanity that a Salamangreat player can do when they're being left unchecked. They just get so much recursion, so many resources, and they just do what they want to do, really. You have to really kind of stop them quite early if you want to stand a chance to get them, because when it comes to grinding, they are one of the best decks when it comes to just recycling resources. Now, this is my feeble attempt at using a hand trap against them. I'm going to use the Biru when Leone decides to declare the end of his turn, and that will tribute all monsters on the field and give him a token equal to the attack and defense of the monsters that were tributed. Link monsters having no defense means the token will have no defense either. So I've kind of cleared out his board here, and if Leone had chosen to really kind of burn through all of his resources here, then this might have hurt, but he's going to do something really clever here, and he lets the Sunlight Wolf go to grave, but then he chooses to respond with Gazelle. Gazelle has the effect that whenever a Salamangreat card goes to the graveyard, it can be special summoned to the field, and then once it's been special summoned to the field, he can then send any Salamangreat card from. This just helps him set up plays even more, load the graveyard full of resources, and yeah, it was just a really, really smart play. Most Salamangreat players, I'm promising you, most Salamangreat players would not have held back on using Gazelle. They would have used that Gazelle ages ago, but the man is smart, the man is experienced, he knows what he's doing, and that was a really, really smart play there. So now he gets their counter trap into the graveyard, which is going to be able to recur itself later on if he manages to make a link summon for a Salamangreat card he can put it back on the field for free, but then it will banish itself, giving him even more interruptions. He's now going to end up on a board basically that was stronger than the one he originally chose to end on, which is insane. He turned that Nibiru into a positive. Really clever play there. Plays Mind Control now to steal my Nibiru, and he can use both my Nibiru and his fire monster to link summon them away into further resources. And the monster he's going to link summon into is going to be most likely a Heater the Fire Charmer. Now if I had a fire monster in the grave, I would be really stuck here because he would be able to steal one fire monster from my graveyard, but I don't. But at the very least, he can leave it on the field, and when Heater is destroyed, she can add a fire monster with 1500 less defense from his deck to his hand, so he gets even more resources. He's so far ahead at this point that there really is going to be very little that I can do in terms of interruptions. For this time being, I'm going to talk about side decking, and whenever I play Pendulums, I like to go with a 7-card side deck, where depending on the matchups I sided 7 cards, and the cards which I sided against Leone were 3 copies of Cosmic Cyclone, 3 copies of Nibiru, and 1 copy of Dino-Resta Pankratops. Now I like the number 7, I think it's a really good number in a deck size of 40 cards. If you have 7 cards that you sided in, you have a 43% chance of drawing one of those in your opening hand, being able to counter with them, and you have a 20% chance of being able to draw 2 or more, and you have a 36% chance of being able to draw less than one of them. Kind of what didn't work out in my favor here is I actually drew 3 of them, and because I drew Pankratops, Nibiru, and Cosmic Cyclone, I don't really have enough cards to kind of actually do what my Pendulum players want me to do. I have 1 scale, Magister of Endymion, and I would have been okay if Spell Power Marshal went through, but Leone was ready with that Ash Blossom to negate that, and I have no real ways of actually doing any Pendulum plays right now. So I've got Pankratops on the field, and Pankratops destroys the token which I gave him earlier. We're just checking on Heater, whether it works on being destroyed by card effects or just by battle. It's by both card effects and battle, so even if I use Pankratops' second effect to destroy the Heater, he will still get a benefit off of it. So this is a really poor situation for me. And as a Pendulum player, what is so important here is time management. You guys might be able to hear this, but the bell which for half time has just gone, which means there's 20 minutes left on the round, and managing your time within a 2 out of 3 game is really important when you're a Pendulum player, because it takes a while to set up your plays. You don't really want to get into a situation where you've got game 3 but you haven't got enough time to make your whole board and then actually secure a victory. So my safe number is 15 minutes or so. If you have about 15 minutes, you should have enough time to kind of do what you want to do and win in a comfortable situation. So it being half time right now is saying to myself, okay, is it worth dragging this out? And it's not. I decided to scoop it all up and leave it, because there's no point wasting 5 minutes of me in a losing situation and have another game to spare. So yeah, we side deck. In official format, you have official fast format, you have up to 3 minutes of side in. So from the 20 minutes, then taking away 3 minutes, I have about 16 minutes left, which gives me a nice comfortable amount of time to kind of do what I want to do as a Pendulum player and try to get a win here. Excuse me. So I'm going to start off this play here by going first, of course, because I'm a Pendulum player, and we're going to go by normal summon Mythical Beast Jackal, and then we're going to play Set Rotation, one of my favourite starter cards in Pendulum decks, because it feeds many spell counters. Now we have a Magical Citadel of Endymion, which is a really good card for spell counters. Every time I use a spell counter, it gets a spell counter. A spell card, it gets a spell counter, and if I choose to use an effect, and I have enough spell counters on the field spell, I can use the one from that bank instead. So it really kind of allows me to secure more ways of getting enough spell counters to play. So because I've used two spell cards, I get 2 spell counters on Mythical Beast Jackal, and that now gives me 3 spell counters and enough cards to use Jackal's effect. Jackal's effect is that I contribute it and remove 3 spell counters from the field in order to special summon a Mythical Beast monster from my deck, and I go for Mythical Beast Jackal King. Now, I've done the Jackal King here because earlier on, if you didn't catch that, Leone has Nibiru in his hand, and he decided not to shuffle it back in his hand. He's revealed that knowledge, and so I've got the Jackal King here to kind of protect myself from Nibiru, even though, to be honest with you, I would have done that regardless of whether I knew he had Nibiru or not, because Nibiru is a very commonly used side deck card against Pendulums as well as Salamangreats. So yeah, I would have gone for that anyway. I use Master Cerberus effect to add a Mythical Beast monster from my deck, and I go and add Mythical Beast, pick a Spellcaster card that is face up in my extra deck, and I shuffle back in the Jackal, destroy it, and then I get to shuffle my deck and draw one card. It's just a way of feeding more spell counters onto the field. So Jackal King now has 2, so its monster effect location effect is live, and Citadel has 2, which is also really good for the future. So I'm weighing up what I have. I have a Master Cerberus and a Basilisk in the extra deck, Jackal King on board, and if I have some scales, I should be able to do a Pendulum summon. I scale Reflection of ENDYMION, which is a low scale, a level 2 low scale, so I can summon anything that's level 3 or higher. And if I have another scale, this would be really cool right now. I have Kaiden Kendo Spirit, which is a 9 scale, so I could actually do a Pendulum summon of anything that is level 3 to level 8, which is really quite nice. That means I can summon back the Master Cerberus if I choose to, and that's exactly what I'm going to do here. Kaiden Kendo returns itself to hand. I activate it again to feed more, meaning Jackal King has, what, about 8 spell counters right now. And Master Cerberus has 2, and I've got plenty on the Citadel. And Master Cerberus has also a pretty nice effect that if there are 4 or more spell cards on the field, he cannot be destroyed by card effects. And I choose to wrap up this turn by playing a copy of Necro Valley. Necro Valley is a card which I love to main deck in this build, because I think between Secret Village, Necro Valley, and one other field spell of your choice, Set Rotation is a very good starter engine in this deck for the current meta, because there are so many card decks which are crippled by full out spell negation or full out graveyard prevention. And so if you don't know what Necro Valley does, it means any cards in the graveyard cannot be banished, and cards in the graveyard cannot be moved from a place other than the graveyard. So things like Jack Jaguar or Spinny, they are all not going to work while Necro Valley is live. Leone starts off by playing Pop Desires, banishing 10 cards from the top of his deck and then drawing 2. And I know Leone very well. I know what he's digging his deck for, and I know what Salamangreat plays that to do. And he is either going to try and be playing Twin Twisters, or he's going to try and play Cosmic Cyclone. And he's hesitating here. He's wondering, just checking, do I have any way to stop any protection? He's asking, do I have any protection from that? And I says, no, just play your damn Twin Twisters, because I know he's got Twin Twisters. He always has Twin Twisters. And yeah, that's exactly what he has. So he's going to get rid of Necro Valley, and he's going to get rid of Reflection. Nothing I can really do to stop that. He does give my cards a few more extra spell counters, but it is what it is. So he ditches Jack Jaguar, normal summons Flame Buffalo. Flame Buffalo is going to get Link summoned away for Salamangreat Balinks. And again, I'm going to be listening. Is he going to say he just uses just Buffalo effect? He doesn't go for the Balinks effect, which means he's got Sanctuary in his hand again. And so I do not really want him, just like in turn 1, I do not want him using Buffalo effect. I do not want him discarding his Salamangreat cards. I do not want him drawing more cards. So I choose to negate with Jackal King. Hopefully just pray that it pays off. Leone has a look at his hand here. You guys may be able to see his hand there. Let's see if it pays off also. And he has a look at his graveyard. Jack Jaguar can be live if he's able to get another Salamangreat card in the graveyard. So he can maybe get a Link 2 at the very least. He has the Salamangreat Sanctuary. We know that because he didn't use Balinks effect, so he can definitely get Jack Jaguar into field. But the question is, can he do anything more than that? He gets rid of Secret Village, he activates Sanctuary, and he's going to give me more spell counters. At this point, the spell counters on the field isn't going to matter. Both cards have more than enough for the minimum, so the number of spell counters isn't going to matter. He uses Sanctuary, and he gets rid of the Jack Jaguar and the Balinks, and he uses Sunlight Wolf onto the field. He had to reincarnate Summon in order to do that though, so he can't reincarnate Link the Jack Jaguar, and so he sets one card and passes. Now, I'm very lucky because Master Cerberus does have a protection effect. If there are 4 or more spell counters on the field, it cannot be destroyed by card effects, and both Rage, Salamangreat Rage and Salamangreat Roar, they're 2 key trap cards, both destroy Master Cerberus. So I'm going to use Master Cerberus' effect to try and banish Sunlight Wolf, and that is going to be protected. He will negate the effect. I won't be able to banish it, but it will protect itself from destruction, so I do actually get to keep the Master Cerberus here. Not that it really matters too much. It was all kind of free bait because I have no, I don't have a low scale in hand, so it doesn't matter. If I can get a low scale in hand, that would be really good because I could just Pendulum Summon it back anyway. But I don't know what my final card in the hand is, so we'll soon find out. So I'm looking at my extra deck, and it's a Servant of ENDYMION, which is awesome. Card you always want to really see. And so I'm going to go for more than likely this, the Pendulum Summon. I could either choose to Link Summon first. There is a bit of a risk by doing that because removing my effect negation to do so. But I decided to not do that. I'm decided to just go for the Pendulum Summon, and I'm going to summon Reflection underneath Sunlight Wolf. Now this is kind of a downside because a monster was summoned to a zone a Sunlight Wolf points to. Leone does get to add a fire monster back from his deck to his hand, but then I use Reflection's effect to return a card with spell counters from my field to the hand, and then that lets me bounce one of his cards back to the extra deck, which is nice because he can't protect it with Bailing, so I'll put Sunlight Wolf back in the extra deck and then do 1850 plus 2400 effect damage, which is top of my head 4400, 4250 damage, so just over half of his life there. And then I pass turn. Server's got one spell counter, Jackal King's still alive. Reflection's not really going to do anything until I get it off the field, and Kaiden Kendo is just there to continuously make spell counters. And so Leo's going to have a look at his hand here. He has Raw in the graveyard, which might be able to get itself back. He normal summons Foxy, adds Circle to hand, which is always nice. Can't really do nothing to stop that. I could have stopped the Foxy effect, but I'm not going to really waste the Jackal King on the Foxy. And then he plays Circle, and he's going to use Circle to probably search out Gazelle, because I haven't seen him use Gazelle yet, and it is easily the best card in it is the best card in their deck, but he goes for Spinning instead. So probably going to use that Spinning to try and get out Mirage Salio. But first, no, he's going to try and play a spell track card. He plays Twin Twisters, because of course he has Twin Twisters, of course. Yep, so nothing I can do about that. My two back row, my two scales are going to get destroyed. Discards a Spinny, and that Spinny is now going to be able to come out for free, kind of nullifying the cost, quote unquote, of Twin Twisters. He now has the ability to do quite a lot with this board here, and at this point it really comes down to what I choose to negate with the Jackal King. If I play it smart, I might be able to kind of survive this turn. If I don't, then, well, the game is his. So he uses Jack Jaguar's effect, shuffle back in Bailing, summon it underneath Bailings. He can now make a Link free if he wants to. Leone is going to look at his extra deck. He could go for Sunlight Wolf plays and do more recursion. He can bring back. He can't bring back Foxy. He has used that already. But no, he's going to go for, interestingly enough, looks like he's going to go for a Link 2. He can't go for Mirage Salio right now. He's going to go for a Link 3. He's going to use all 3 of those cards. And he's going to, summon up the Heat Leo. And the Heat Leo, normally when it is Link Summon, can take one spell track card on my side of the field and shuffle it back into the deck. But now he's reincarnated summoning, it gets a second effect, and that is he can choose one card in the graveyard, and then he can make my monster's attack equal to the card that he chose in the graveyard. So he would have changed my Jaguar's attack to 1000, make it equal to Foxy, and then, but unfortunately I'm able to negate and stop that. It doesn't destroy his monster because he had a Bailey's Grave, but it can, it is somewhat okay. It's really going to depend on what I draw in the next turn. It's really going to come down to, both of us in kind of a game-winning situation here. One of us just need really one good card to play. I'm going to scale Master Cerberus again. Going to attempt to use my Cerberus effect. He lets me use it, which means he doesn't have Ash in his hand, which is great. If he had Ash and Ash that Master Cerberus, I probably would have lost the whole game there. That really would have hurt. I get Jackal King to hand. Jackal King is going to get activated. Activate Jackal King and lets me special summon Master Cerberus. And then Master Cerberus effect is going to let me banish 4 spell counters, not banish, but remove 4 spell counters to banish his Heat Leo. And then it gets attack equal to the Heat Leo, and then I can attack for game because it's going to be over 5,000 attack, and that's going to do it. Guys, thank you so much for tuning into this video there. I hope you enjoyed it all. A really good game between me and Leon there. Kind of worked. And yeah, I thought it was a really solid game. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thank you for tuning in as always. Thank you very much for watching, and take care. Goodbye.